Hi there, welcome to Casper Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. If you're new to my sessions, these are the key takeaways you can expect after my session. I'll cover Wyckoff stages both in the weekly and daily time frame, current stage as well as the upcoming stage. Also, key price levels where Casper would find support or resistance. And finally, any breakout timing that the charts are indicating to us. So let's dive in first to the weekly chart because that's the big picture that governs what the daily can go or how far the daily can go. So for the past 3 weeks, after the week of crazy October 10th, we are in the third week of a price decline and it's still within this downtrend box, this blue box over here. Previously, this trend line supporting higher lows now becomes the resistance. So the key thing is if the price continues with this downtrend, which we discussed in previous sessions, that the potential is still higher for this to come down at the same or to the same level of the selling climax back in late October, early November last year. So we are at a similar time frame, almost exactly the same week, I would say, by the time we get to next week, okay? Because we only have 2 days and 8 hours left. By the time we get to next week, it's also the week of October 28th. Would we see the selling climax then? That's very key, okay? So this is from a bigger picture perspective. We call this a test. Okay, it is not there yet. It's actually the same one, so I'm going to take this away. Okay, because this hasn't finished. So here, either it's going to end up similar level as the selling climax, because there's no reference whatsoever for Casper, it's so new. So I can check what this is the earliest we get, and there's no further references, so it can go lower than the selling climax. By then, that in Wyckoff terms, we call that a spring. So would it be that bad for Casper that it goes below this white line? Okay, that's 0.006 roughly. Yeah, 0.0606, and show us a spring below that point. That's a possibility. Alright, I'm not trying to scare anybody, just to let you know, while we're hoping for this 30% upside to happen, for the price to come back to challenge at least somewhere above this yellow key level of 0.024, the risk of heading towards the spring is there. In other sessions that I cover, you can check there are many examples. Not that we have it for Casper here because it's still young. There are many incidents or occasions of springs before the next distribution cycle happens. That's the period where the big guys or the whales or the composite man, whatever terminology you have learned or have been using, they try to shake out the small fishes or the weaker hands so they can grab whatever stock left at the lowest price possible before they pushes the price back up. Okay, so that's why we are still facing this risk until the point the big guys are pushing the price up. So that's the big picture. Before we get to the daily chart, let's take a look at this Bollinger Band Curtain Squeeze indicator. We are currently still within a squeeze, even though there's no shade for about a 6 weeks period over here. But the trend is basically continuing, so we're still in the same squeeze. And if you're new to this indicator, a squeeze is an indication that a bigger price swing is near. Okay? It doesn't tell us the direction. It can swing up first and then swing down, or it can swing down before it swings up, much like what happened over here. But that was a crazy period when, like, almost immediately after Casper launch. So we have to exclude this crazy range. But looking at this and also some other charts in other altcoins or even Bitcoin, Ethereum, they show similar pattern. Or if you apply this to stocks, it works as well. So let's get to the daily, and we're really in a very narrow range. So the previous squeeze, we're in a downtrend, and we've got these prices fluctuations on the 16th and 17th. You can say it's a beginning of a downward swing looking at this magnitude. So here we were at a milder trading range, but then when we get to this point, even if we exclude the wick of the October 10th, okay, just to get to the wick of the 11th, and then this crazy bounce up we exclude as well, you see the width of the box is higher than this one. So this is wider than this. So it, technically speaking, we are in an increased price range area. So let's switch this off for the time being while we expect more swings to come. Just want to quickly check and share with you the Wyckoff period that we're in. So we are already in the spring period, just that we haven't seen like the bottom of the spring yet. That's a possibility. This spring is different from the one I talked about in the weekly time frame, okay? Don't mix up the two, because that spring is way deeper. Of course, the daily would end up over there when that happens. But then there could be another cycle happening before that dip comes in the daily chart. So remember, the time scale is very different across the two. The current spring level, except the October 10th excluded, what we went through on the 22nd, just 2 days ago, was about the same level of the spring we had on the 7th of April. So we have basically touched that level already, and hope that that's the end of it. Not that it's like it is. Here we see a strong selling when the price tried to go above this orange support level, or like resistance level for now. So this one is extended from basically the spring over here. So the good thing that should happen is for the price to climb back into here. And if it does, if the price climbs back to this triangle, there is a breakout time point around middle of November that, or before that, the price can eventually break outside of this downward channel. So we are about 2 or 2.5 weeks from then. So let's hope that the price climbs back and eventually break outside. For first step, you know, exit this downtrend, and for the second step, breaks above this red key level of around 1 cent. So we can like take a deep breath and potentially see a sign of strength eventually coming. So this, I can remove it. I've added the spring tag, and it has happened. So it's not a 70% chance anymore. However, this may not be the lowest point. We hope that it is. As long as it's still within this blue box, there's still a chance for it to come down to this white line, like what we had over there. Okay? So be really, really careful with what's going to come in the short term. But this is not something too bad, depending on like what or how you're looking at it. yeah, it went very low, both times, April this year and November last year. But then that's where it begins the climb to the selling climax, right? So if we were at that period, obviously it's kind of scary that, the S word, it had came that low, and then, but like a few weeks later or a few days later, everybody is probably celebrating. Again, be careful. While it may happen to the upside, the spring may not be over, and if it comes from that point to the white line over there, that's another 20% drop. So if that's beyond your risk appetite, remember, I've put this over here right on my side. So every time, I hope people, especially if you're new to trading, you get the reminder that don't leave your best friend behind and stay, especially let your order stay overnight without your best friend. Okay, thanks for joining me today. See you tomorrow.